Welcome back, everybody. This is Cancer Chronicles meets COVID Chronicles, I guess. If you're wondering what that sound is, I have recruited a COVID cuddle buddy, and he's very loud. And he likes to love, but it's a lot. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Okay. Well, had to evict my co-host. He was getting a little crazy. I think this is episode 5 or 6. I haven't done a Cancer Chronicles in a while, but I don't really have much to update on the cancer front right now. So Cancer Chronicles is morphed into COVID Chronicles because I did test positive for COVID-19, and yeah, so I thought I would show you guys all of the medication I take for normal everyday stuff, COVID, and cancer. So jump right into that. Okay, so I'll start with my normal everyday medicine for anxiety. That's no big deal. And then this is nausea medicine for chemo. And I have a different nausea medicine. This is an antiviral that I'm taking with chemo. That was supposed to help me not get viral infections, and in the case that I did, which is what COVID is, it helps my body fight it off because my immune system is compromised. And then my 2 new medicines that I got to add in are for COVID. So that is super fun. I get to take all of those. Not too much to update on. I did one of my treatments, and I must have just had it very easy the first time I did treatment because I felt a little naive after I did this round because it was horrible. Like, the worst thing I have ever gone through. I thought that I was dying. It was so scary, and I'm really afraid to have to do it again. But luckily, or maybe not luckily, but COVID has given me a bit of an extension on having to worry about that, so I can appreciate that. Other than that, I mean, COVID is so different for everybody. That is something I think that we've all learned and been able to see. I just thought I had a cold, honestly, and from just talking to my primary care physician, I think I actually did have a cold first, and then I got COVID afterwards. So it's kind of hard to tell when I actually became symptomatic for COVID because so many symptoms are the same. I started out with what I thought was a cold, but I did, of course, consider that maybe it wasn't. But I just thought, I'm going to take normal cold medicine and I'll see what happens because I'm super irritated that I'm pretty sure I have a cold. But in the world we live in, I have to kind of be concerned that it could be COVID. So I did take some cold medicine, and that made me feel like an absolute new human being. I felt so much better just taking it for probably a day and a half. I could tell a really big difference. So I was like, okay, it has to be cold. definitely a cold. And then when all my other cold symptoms started to go away, I could tell that something still wasn't quite right, I guess, because I had a headache that would not disappear, and it is a doozy of a headache, let me tell you. I still have it. Luckily, it's more come and go now than the constant headache it was. Makes it a lot easier to deal with. And besides the headache, I didn't really notice anything except for that I was very, very tired. But again, my chemo has been making me really tired anyway. And then I had just got over fighting what I thought was a cold. And so I knew my body was just really worn down. So I didn't think much of it. I thought, okay, maybe I have a sinus infection and that's why I have a headache. And then I thought that I was having some COVID type smell and taste loss, but it was not what I was expecting from the way everybody talks about it. It's not that I couldn't smell, but it's kind of muted is what, like, my COVID crew and I'm not the only one that tested positive, so we've been talking about our symptoms. And we say we still have the taste and smell, but they're muted. So you go through like your day today and you're not really smelling anything, but then sometimes you get a whiff of something, so you're like, okay, I obviously can smell. And then you're eating and you can't really taste anything, but ever so often you do get a hint of whatever it is you're eating. And we in the COVID crew have sort of hypothesized, we'll say, that you're still not actually tasting it. It's just that when you're eating something, your brain remembers what it should be tasting. So it's almost like when you go to take a bite, your mind is preparing you or trying to trick you into tasting it. It's kind of a weird experience. But then once you start to eat it, nothing. And then it's kind of like, well, that's confusing. Did I taste it or did I not taste it? At first I had chalked that up to, okay, I'm really congested. Maybe that's why I can't smell. I have a lot of sinus drainage. Maybe that's why things taste kind of funny. So it rolls around to Tuesday, and Wednesday I'm supposed to get another round of chemo. And I just kind of decided I wanted to make sure that it was just a cold before I went and exposed other immune compromised people to whatever was going on, and B, if I had something that wasn't a cold and then I went and got chemo, my body's immune system would be tanked and I would have absolutely zero chance of fighting off whatever it was. So I called and made myself an appointment to get a COVID test, and I got my COVID test on Tuesday morning, and it was a rapid test, so it took about an hour to get the results. And I answered the phone completely expecting that I just had a cold, and I get, "Hi Hunter, I'm just calling to give you the results of your COVID test, and you did come back positive for COVID." And I can't even explain the feeling of being told that you just tested positive for this disease that basically is killing everybody. And I'm literally the number one group of the population that is not supposed to get COVID. So in that moment, it's kind of shock and a lot of fear. And then you kind of go numb all in a microsecond because you're like, okay, well, I'm locked in. I can't do anything about it now. So I do remember, though, as I'm talking to the nurse on the phone who's telling me I tested positive for COVID, I said, "Are you serious? Or are you is this a joke?" And she says, "No." Like, why would she be joking? But I was really hoping she was, to be honest. But that was not the case. So, besides just resting, taking care of yourself, there's really not anything you can do. You're just in it to win it, which is a game I know all too well with this cancer business. So, luckily, I do actually drink a gallon of water a day, which if you're some of the people that don't, sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but you get used to it. So I drink a gallon of water a day, and I was doing it the whole time, even when I thought I just had a cold. So I do think that doing that probably helped me a lot. I know for a fact that if I hadn't been drinking my water, making sure I was hydrated, I think I would be in a lot tougher of a situation now. Besides being pretty tired and actually not able to sleep, which I didn't realize was a COVID symptom, but it totally is. Like, I am so tired, but my body will just not let me go to sleep. So that's been fun. My headache still comes and goes, but nothing like it was. And I have a lot of drainage. And I mean, really, if I didn't know that I had COVID, I wouldn't know I had COVID. I would just think allergies or something like that. Because maybe it's just because I've been used to feeling bad for so long, or maybe things are just more mild in my case. Knock on wood. Knock on my table. Yeah, so cancer update, COVID update, all in one. My pulse ox is good. I keep an eye on that. And yeah, just trucking through it. I don't know where I got it. People have been asking me that. I have no idea. I am one of the 3 people in like my immediate circle that tested positive for COVID. It was actually, a lot of us had the same symptoms, and I went and I got my COVID test completely not thinking anything of it, and then I tested positive. So then the other people that had the same symptoms went and got a test the same day, and then one was positive and the other was positive. So we probably all got it around the same time. Just no idea where it came from. Nothing for sure. So that's always a little bit confusing, because especially in the world we live in, everybody's super careful. Like, you wear your mask when you go anywhere. You limit your exposure to big groups of people. So to be told you have COVID when you've been being so careful is just, it's really confusing and a little bit frustrating to me, because it makes me feel really dumb, because I am really careful. I don't go out around anybody. I am probably the most cautious person. So it just makes me feel really stupid. I'm like, who did I let myself be around that put me in this position? But, I mean, I didn't know I had COVID when I had COVID, so it totally could be I was around somebody who had no idea they had COVID. So, just crazy times we're all living in. So I guess that's my update. I will keep you guys posted, and keep drinking your water, everybody, because if you get COVID, it'll definitely help, and if you don't have COVID, it's good for you. So that's what I'll leave you with. Everybody go drink your water. Bye.